Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a behind the scenes so far to Antimatter part 3, I want to say, of 5. I want to say it's part 3, I genuinely can't remember. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's part 3. So yeah, I've had this image in my head for quite a while, this kind of cool image, or at least I think so anyway, of 3 Weeping Angels and the First Doctor. I just think it looks like such a cool image, you know, like such iconic baddies and or monsters of the new series with like the original Doctor. I mean, obviously Timeless Children kind of contradicts that, but anyway, yeah. Also, he will have his cane later on, even though the bottom bit is kind of flimsy, which is kind of really irritating me. And also, this guy doesn't seem to want to stand upright, which is, as you can imagine, very annoying, although he just so happens to stand upright when I say that he isn't. So yeah. Yeah, as I say, I've had this image of a cliffhanger with Weeping Angels and the First Doctor for quite a while. And also, as well, I was literally just thinking this before I filmed the actual part to the story. I was thinking, like, it's kind of a little bit of a missed opportunity almost of like the classic series to do, like, imagine like how, from what I've heard, Frontier in Space, it has like the Daleks partway through that, but people obviously wouldn't have known that back in the day, and so that would have been like such a like, oh my god, what, like you just expect it to be a normal sort of master sort of teams up with a alien race baddie sort of episode, sort of think season 8, but in season 10 I think that Frontier in Space is in. I could be wrong on a lot of that, so please don't quote me in saying that in the comment section below or whatever, but yeah, I could be completely wrong, but basically in Frontier in Space, if I'm not mistaken, the Daleks show up partway through, and as I say, but you think that people would have thought it was just your standard run-of-the-mill sort of story until then, and the Daleks show up, as well as the Master and the monster baddies who, their names totally escape me right now. But basically, what I mean by that is that I'm surprised with the format of classic Doctor Who, although I guess that was just the norm of, like, old TV, British TV back in the day to be serialised. But in retrospect, I'm surprised. I feel like it's a big mistake, or not a mistake, but missed opportunity of the classic series that they never did a multi-Doctor story kind of like that, where, as I just did, the sort of cliffhanger was, oh my god, the Doctor is meeting himself, you know, that there's another Doctor and that, you know, sort of thing. Because again, yeah, you could have played it off like, oh, this is just your average day, run-of-the-mill sort of Doctor Who story. Bam, here's, you know, the third Doctor in a sixth Doctor story, do you know what I mean? Or sort of thing, or a the second or first Doctor in a Tom Baker story. Do you kind of know what I mean? Well, I think by Tom's run, I think William Hartnell would have been not with us anymore at that point. Maybe, well, probably. But either way, do you kind of get what I mean? And then have him and have that Doctor being it like part, like the second half of the story sort of thing, you know. To carry the rest of the, well, not to carry the rest of the story, but just to make it so it's so much more interesting, you know. Although I guess you could say that, yeah, to that point, or at that point, it would overshadow the rest of the story or the other parts of the story. So yeah, Gwen is basically back on Earth now, and I feel like from what I remember of the Gallifrey series box set 1, that kind of what happened to Gwen is kind of what happened to Ace there, so I kind of just took that from that sort of series. Also, first time Graham and or Bradley Walsh's action figure is in a figure adventure. Just needed a humanoid type character, so and he was the first thing that came to mind, other than obviously Gwen. But I don't have 2 Gwen Coopers, so. But yeah, he's a bit grimier than I would like in some respects, the figure that I have now. But yeah, so that's kind of annoying. I think I got this one from the 11 Doctors set, if you can believe it. Unfortunately, I don't have 3 Weeping Angels doing that sort of pose, or doing that kind of pose, unfortunately. I have two doing that, and then one of the screaming ones, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, so as I say, first time having the Weeping Angels in a figure adventure as well as in with the Doctor, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, that's kind of a lie, I guess. I did the whole sort of Dark Doctor / Anti-Doctor, I guess, or sort of the Valiard type thing. It was like my version of like the Valiard / 12th Doctor-y # Rebel Time Lord thing and that, yeah. So, yeah. Also, I think I'm getting a bit worried that this figure is kind of going through the ringer, and that his head might actually permanently fall off, and that as once I was sort of moving the head of this figure, and then it kind of went really skew-whiff and that, and all fell off, and looked like it wouldn't go back in to the peg, which is really worrying, because this is, well, actually I was about to say this is the only Paul McGann I have. I have two other variants now of McGann. Fortunately, I have the Night of the Doctor McGann, as well as obviously the Dark Eyes McGann, and so that's awesome. I just don't have, there's only one other variant that I would really like to get, and that's the comic book variant, where he's got the sort of light blue coat and a brown waistcoat, like a brownish sort of brownish cream coloured waistcoat, and then, as I say, like a blue sort of jacket version of this jacket, and then it came with like an Alpha Dalek, like a red Dalek with like a Greek Alpha sign on its dome, which looks awesome, and that. So yeah. As I say, I think for me, there was a little bit of an Easter egg and a little bit of a thing to like, oh, I remember this antimatter thing happening before, which I might bring back and do a bit more of and be a bit more clearer. That was obviously a reference to him remembering the three Doctors, but then again, it is a multi-Doctor story, so he shouldn't really be able to remember that, so actually that's on me. But yeah, I might actually just, leave it at that, really. If you got the reference, cool. If you didn't, okay. Also, inspiration for this story, it's an amalgamation of, like, the three Doctors, the Doctor's wife, I was about to say Shada then, but not Shada, Scherzo, sort of trippy, more sort of experimentally stories. They're some of the stories that I really like. Like It Takes You Away is a really good sort of Whittaker experimental sort of story, or one of the more experimental stories, should I say, in the sort of Whittaker era. And that, so 8 figures, which is kind of action figures, which is kind of mad in this one part of the story. Kind of mad because sort of early on you started off with not many, and now you've got like 8 and that. I was very tempted to do a different cliffhanger and that, but that I might just swap the 2 cliffhangers around, and instead of doing the cliffhanger that I was going to do for this part, move it to the next part. And as I say, I would have done this one next, and then the other one that I had planned originally, but on the fly, really not that planned. I just changed them, clearly, and that, just because for me, I was like, I need to get to this point, like, and that, so yeah. Ideally, this feels like an episode that's really putting the Doctor through his paces a bit as well, like, again, this sort of story kinda a little bit, for me in my head, I feel like it's visually kinda like a Heaven Sent sort of darker sort of story, and that, although to be fair, from what I remember of the rest of the series that I've done of Figure Adventures episodes that I've done in this series, you've had a spoiler alert, but a Slitheen story. Then you've had Weevils and Witches, and as I say, Weevils. You've had Slitheen, Weevils, and Witches. So you've been through the ringers, and that. I think Doctor Who's really good with really cool, fun sort of baddies, or at least that's one of the things that I always like about Doctor Who. It's baddies, it's monsters, it's sort of creative rogues gallery of baddies and people to sort of fight against, and for the Doctor to try and triumph over or reason with, in the case of like the Sea Devils or Silurians and that, and the show's always at its best and most interesting when the character of the Doctor, his back is pushed up against the wall, I think, and a lot of his sort of, for lack of a better term, usual tools and or toys are taken away from him. The psychic paper, the sonic screwdriver, the TARDIS. That's what kind of why I got rid of the TARDIS. He hasn't used the sonic screwdriver yet, but honestly, I've just thought maybe he could try and use it, and then I could just write it. Oh no, it don't work. Psychic paper, there's no real need for the psychic paper in the story, but there's no real need for the sonic, but again, I could just use it to get rid of it, and that, but yeah. Thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe.